How do they actually cope? Because if you talk to a youth, hypothetically now, who is used to oil money, oil funds, oil environment, and then you talk agriculture, he knows that he has to leave this comfort zone and then almost starting afresh and then work hard and earn your money. Did that occur? I mean, did they happen?
I think contrary to that, actually, I mean, there was a lot of excitement. I think many people who spoke from the community, including even some of the youth leaders, not just even from Bonny, but from the wider Niger Delta, spoke about the huge opportunities that they could see. In fact, Bonny is renowned for what they call the boat houses, which means that traditionally, houses in Bonny had boats that they used to go out in the seas, and they looked at this as an area for how to develop entrepreneurs. And each house is in Bonny being able to take up an area. Some may take out fishery, some may take out agriculture, and be able to develop entrepreneurship on that basis. So contrary to what I think may be the norm, they were actually more excited. And in fact, the conference was such a huge success in terms of participation from the host community.
Perhaps maybe tell us more on this NLNG Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme, which we understand there was an MOU with the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the host communities. A total of 38.5 million naira has been disbursed to 20 cooperative groups. You know, when we talk about groups and we talk about monies sometimes, do they really get to the people who are in dire need of such assistance?
I think the challenge in Nigeria, as I'm sure you know, is that with 160 million people, more than 70% living below poverty, we just can't do enough. And a company like NLNG cannot claim to replace a government or claim to be able to solve all the problem. I can assure you that the money does get to people who do really need it, but does it get to everybody who needs it? The answer, of course, is no, because we just do not have that capacity to solve all the problems.
But
the theme of this summit has been growing agriculture as a business. It would seem that, the NLNG's intervention is still on the path of development. Do you see it progressing from there, or is there a fine line between the two of them?
Indeed, as I mentioned earlier, it was about a paradigm shift, which was that as an organization, our relationship with our communities, were moving it from being developmental, as you call that, to being empowerment, to being developing capacity for local communities to be able to develop entrepreneurship opportunities. So this particular conference that we held with the Bonny community was entirely about how they themselves would be in the forefront and be able to create new businesses, create new opportunities, more employment opportunities for themselves. So it was a paradigm shift to move from the traditional approach of oil industries going into development to moving into a model where host communities actually become much more empowered, much more independent, and can grow into other businesses. The oil industry is a huge capital-intensive industry. It does not employ many people. I mean, our contribution to employment in the country is very small compared to the amount of money we spend. So the other industries like agriculture is the area where a lot of employment can be made. Not just in the agricultural farms itself, but more importantly in the industries, the processing that you get and the sales and distribution that you get after that. That is where we see the opportunities.
This conference you're talking about in Bonny, when did it hold?
Held about 2 months ago now.
That means that agriculture for you seems to be is it a recent development?
Of course, you must remember that for us as a company, we've always had other areas we've intervened. We have the literature and the science prize, so we have always been big in education, and this has gone on for many, many years. Scholarship schemes, education schemes that we've had. So of course, in recent times, our effort is mainly geared at what I've called a paradigm shift, which is to move away from development to empowerment. And of course, when you look at empowerment in a place like Bonny, clearly agriculture and fishing are just a question that I think you can already see is the right answer for such a community.
Some IOCs have already done, some extensive work in terms of supporting agriculture in local communities. Do you think you want to learn from the example, or are you afraid that you might get too involved with the communities?
Of course, we always like to learn from others. So even in the efforts that we are working in Bonny, remember there are 3 main international oil companies on the island, and the 3 of us are working together on the scheme. So we are in that process learning. But clearly, we see that there's huge opportunities for the community itself. We do not see this as something for NLNG to be getting too involved in. Our role is to facilitate, to bring in the support necessary, NGOs, international agencies, and a number of them are already interested in what we are doing and are already willing to participate.
All right. Your organization is also involved in this agro-enterprise development action. I think you call it an agenda. The pilot scheme was launched, I think, in 2006, and I do know you do some impact assessment thereafter. How far has that come in terms of what your target is? Are you looking at also ensuring that these entrepreneurs eventually become large-scale farmers?
Indeed, as I mentioned earlier, our vision is to get the community to become more self-sufficient and less dependent on the oil and gas industry. Cannot provide enough of wealth and employment for the community. So indeed, our agenda is to get industries of large scales being built in these communities for the processing, for the distribution that we need to have, the storage and all of that. So our vision and our aim is to get this to become really large industries in the community. This is not new. I mean, in many countries in the world, that kind of development has been seen, where the oil industry has supported the creation of alternative industries in the countries to enable those countries diversify the economy, generate more revenue, create more employment opportunities. So this is not new in itself.
So what's the feedback like, especially from the youth? What kind of vibe do you get, knowing full well that people in such areas would ordinarily prefer to go into the oil and gas industry? How excited are they with you helping them develop in the agricultural sector?
I think from the feedback we got from the conference, there was a lot of excitement from them. They were keen because they could see. I think the beauty of agriculture and the opportunities that it provides is that many people now in the country see that. And of course, because as I mentioned, the oil industry over the years has not employed that number of people, it's obvious to the youths that alternatives are required. So I think it was an exciting time for the youths.
You're going to be in this one for the long haul?
Of course. Of course.
I guess we'll not be able to let you go without asking you quickly your relationship with NIMASA. Have you been able to sort everything out?
Of course. I mean, we have been able to resolve the issues that were of importance at the time that the blockade was on. So we are back in full production. We're working with our colleagues in NIMASA to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And we're resolving the issues in terms of the interpretation. We're still resolving that in a court. But things are going on back to normal.
All right then. Mr. Babs Omotowa is the Managing Director of Nigeria LNG. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, back in just a moment. Please join us again.